At the heart of Domu stood an old baobab tree, old as time, wise as the stars. Children gathered under its shade, listening to folk tales from white-haired grandmothers. It wasn't just a tree. It was a guardian, a storyteller, a monument to those who came before. But as Domu Newtown grew bigger, the baobab's shadow grew smaller, not from shrinking, but from the rising concrete around it. Domu Newtown is now described as the suburb that sprouted concrete and neon, where once only clay and thatch stood. Here, where echoes of ancestral songs were once heard, is now drowning in car horns and radio jingles. Plans were underway to build a school for the Domu settlement, since there was no school in the entire locality. Children traveled several miles to attend school in the nearest village, Wala. And this journey was largely under the mercy of the weather, in addition to the dangers of snake bites along the way. These difficulties deterred many pupils and parents from paying serious attention to schooling. When the construction of a new school was announced, the entire Domu rejoiced and even had a bonfire night just to celebrate the good news. They drummed, sang, and danced all night that night. But then their joy was, however, cut short by the decision to cut the baobab because of the school they had been so excited about. It began with the arrival of a government van and men in dark glasses. They said Domu needed a school, a modern one, to help raise future doctors, engineers, and even presidents. No one argued. After all, who could deny the importance of learning? But then when the map was drawn, the school was to be placed exactly where the baobab stood. That was too intrusive, too proud. The women sighed. Children wept. The elders frowned. The baobab was sacred, they said. We did not request to exchange the baobab with them for a school. So why should a school stand in the place where the baobab is standing? But their concerns did not seem to reach far enough, and orders seemed to be coming from far away in the big city. Construction works began, even though the elders protested. Their voices were soft, but the machines were louder. The workers took measurements. Poles were mounted, and the area that was marked for the school building got fenced out. Children who once played under the baobab now peeked through fences to watch workers in helmets. No songs and no regard for the preference of the people of the land. The baobab watched in silence, as it had done for centuries. But this time, the silence was heavier. The day the baobab was to be cut down, the sky turned angry gray. There was thunder without rain. Tools went missing. A mason fell and swore he saw eyes in the baobab tree. The tree cutting was postponed. One morning, the fence walls were marked. Symbols no one could explain, like scratches, like warnings. Why must we have to choose between the baobab and the school? They whispered among themselves. The baobab tree is part of our heritage in Domu. It is part of most of our fondest memories. We believe we can safely have the school building and still keep our baobab tree. Mr. Ijari was the contractor for this project and was not moved at all by the petition of the elders. Young, sharp-suited, he believed in concrete reasoning, not in emotions and abstract things. We must remove all obstacles from our way, he said. The future is not in trees, but in textbooks. But the baobab didn't care about ambitions. Birds stopped nesting on it. The wind near it felt colder, and sometimes it whispered at night. One night, the contractor had a dream in which he was at the construction site late at night. In the dream, strange things began to happen. The lights flickered. Outside, a soft chanting rose from the roots of the baobab. He stepped out, confused, only to see no one. But under the moonlight, carvings had appeared on the trunk of the baobab. Shapes of children, elders, hunters, the history of Domu. And then he heard a voice, low and deep. They must remember. They must remember. They must remember. When he woke up in the morning, he was scared to the bone. The dream felt so real to him that he couldn't go to the site again. He did not want to see the baobab again, since it reminded him of what he saw in his dream. He was so afraid that he resigned from the contract the very next day. A month later, a new contractor was assigned to the project. Mr. Atta was a man who believed in the conservation of nature. As he had worked with a wildlife conservation organization some years ago, he listened to the petition of the Domu people and reasoned with them to change the plan and site the school building some meters away from the baobab tree. The elders and children of Domu were all very happy that they could have a school and still have their age-old baobab. The Domu people were so grateful to the construction team. During the harvest season, they brought lots of foodstuff from their farms to the workers. Mr. Atta and his team also enjoyed working in the Domu settlement because they felt at home and very welcome. As the school building came to completion, everyone was getting more and more excited about the start of school. Children, parents, elders, food vendors, and just everybody. The new school became the talk of town. Arrangements were made for a new headmaster as well as teachers to be posted to the new Domu school. The next year, school started in Domu, and the headmaster called the elders for a durbar. For the first time, the school invited the chief and the entire village for the opening ceremony. Drums were played and children danced under the baobab again. Very soon, even children from the other villages started schooling at the Domu school. And from then on, every school term began with a storytelling under the baobab tree. The baobab remained not as a relic of the past, but as the soul of the future. And so it happens that in Domu Newtown, there now stands a school, but beside it always stands the baobab, restating the ideal that we build schools to teach the future, but we must never forget the trees that taught us first.